kids, welcome to lesson number 6, homework assignment number 1, answers and explanations to structural clues. As usual, we're going to do a quick review of everything that we've learned so far. Lesson number 1. Lesson 1, we learned about topic sentences and how people write. Topic sentence followed by details, the big picture from the topic sentence, which will be a personal opinion. Details below to support that idea. In lesson number 2, we talked about the Scooby-Doo technique. The Scooby-Doo technique says the author is going to say the same thing, the same concept throughout the passage. They're going to use different vocabulary words. So once you understand what the topic is about, you see words, you have to try and associate those words back to what they're talking about in the beginning. You can't just start talking about new stuff. Think and try and predict where the author is going to go. Lesson number 3, we talked about the good stinky rule. The good stinky rule is basically looking at vocabulary words and labeling them plus or minus. Plus is going to be good, stinky will be minus. The author has a vested opinion, which we said here, the topic sentence will feel like a personal opinion. If it's a personal opinion, the author is going to have some type of a tone or flavor on that opinion. It's either going to be positive or negative. The words that they select in the vocabulary, topic, sentence, details, and in the conclusion are going to have some kind of a tone. As soon as you realize what that tone is, it's easier for you to follow. Once again, if you're able to follow the train of thought with the author, it's going to be easier to understand and remember the information for the future. On to number 4. Number 4, we talked about the author's timeline. The author's timeline can be seen as a continuum. It's a line. We start back in the old school day where they give you background information, how things were created, a little bit about what's going on, and then it moves progressively more into the future. In 1960, in 1970, in 1980, so forth, up to present day, and then they might even, in some passages, go in and give you some kind of a future prediction. Since this has happened, maybe in the year 2050, we will see blah, blah, blah. The author's timeline. Why is this important? If you understand where you are in the timeline, you will be able to predict where the author is going to go. Once again, the number one thing in understanding and following reading passages is to try and predict, keep yourself engaged, and understand where the author is and where the author will go. If you understand where the author is currently at right now, you will be able to say, okay, so they're in background information. I expect them to talk about something a little bit more current and then eventually talk about something in the future. You can spot check your work and see, are you on track or are you off a little bit? If you're off a little bit, you can go ahead and rearrange your thought process to get back on track and in tune with the author. Remember, try and predict, stay engaged. Lesson number 5, we talked about cultural coding. Cultural coding is taking information from the environment that we've learned already and applying it into the passage that we're dealing with. That will help you understand and assimilate the information into what you already know. Also, it's going to help you understand, and it is going to help you predict and follow what the author is doing. Remember, I keep saying the same thing. The whole concept here in the program is keep yourself engaged so you understand where you're at. Finally, we're in lesson number 6. Lesson number 6 is called structural clues. Structural clues, as you learned, is basic words that tell you, they're like little road signs. They're like landmarks that tell you where you are in the passage. For example, the word for example is a little mini roadmap. Whenever you see the word for example, you know that what is going to come is going to be an example of what you just said earlier. And what you just said earlier, going back to lesson number 1, probably is going to be your topic sentence or personal opinion. They're going to have to give you a detail or a reason for what they just said to support that. So once you see these words, simply put a circle around them because it will be like a little signpost for you. All right. Let's go ahead and jump on in to this particular passage. Strange and stinky. Topic sentence says, most flowers are sweet smelling. So we know that we're going to have to repeat the noun, which is flowers. And we are going to have to say something about sweet smelling, which is kind of like one of the senses. So that's the action on this. Noun, flowers. So we could talk about flowers. We could even go a little bit more broad, talk about different plants. We could talk about the environment and so forth. Sweet smelling is one of the 6 senses. We could talk about touch. We could talk about taste and so forth. So keep in mind, these things are going to be repeated throughout the passage. Let's jump on in and take a look at the questions. Keep in mind the 6 lessons that we went through and look for the things that we've learned so far. In problem number 1, it says the Scooby-Doo technique. We're looking for the word peculiar on line 8. We scroll back up here. We see the word peculiar is right here. So what we want to do when we're looking at answer choices that are dealing with vocabulary, it's a good idea to read the sentence above and the sentence below. Right away, I start with the beginning of the sentence is here. I notice that that word is a structural clue because it means that there is going to be a reason. This is a reason for what they just said earlier. So I go back up here and I take a look at this. It says not only is the Rasphelia smelly, it's also unusually large. This is a descriptive word, and this word are going to say the same concept here. So unusually large is peculiar. So if we come over here and look for a Scooby-Doo for that, unusual, peculiar, odd, different, wacky, zany, anything that's going to suggest that it's different. That would be a correct answer for problem number 1. Let's move on to problem number 2. Number 2 says, which one reflects the author's point of view? This is going to be a good stinky rule based off of what we've seen in the passage. We see that most flowers are sweet smelling. We talk about flowers, then we go into the Rasphelia. As we go through the Rasphelia, it gives you background information in the timeline. Here's the original date, where it grows, how it grows, its size. We see all this. Then we see more dates, 1965 in the timeline. We come down over here. It says the Rasphelia. It's the subject. In danger of extinction, deforestation, cut down, and we're not sure what's going to happen in the future. So it sounds like the author is talking about this flower, and it sounds like they're kind of worried about it. So let's look for an answer choice that emulates that. Let's start with A. A says enchanted. Enchanted means kind of like fairy tale, glossy-eyed. Wow, awesome. Ooh, that's not really the tone. We can cross that out. B says baffled. Baffled is a word that means negative. Baffled actually means like you're not really sure. Huh? Oh my goodness, I don't get it. That is the wrong tone and can be crossed out right away. C says concerned, put it out by that, and D says cheerful. So first of all, they say the flower is smelly, but they're worried about deforestation, and they are worried about the forests being cut down. So concerned is going to be the best answer choice there. Let's go ahead and take a look at problem number 3. Number 3, it says using the concept of cultural coding. What are potential reasons for the Rasphelia flower to go extinct? Well, find 3. First things first, if it's going to go extinct, think of a piece of land that's in your neighborhood. Why would, we used to call it the dump down when I was a kid. We would go in there and we would play hide and go seek in there, and we would go like looking for bugs and critters and stuff in there. The dump. In the dump, what happened to the dump? The dump, what could happen with these flowers? There could be pollution. There's all kinds of garbage bags and papers and stuff in there. Pollution. Also, there could be like water damage, flooding that might mess it up. There could also be like construction or land development and so forth. So think of some words that are related to that piece of land in your neighborhood. Everyone's got one. Somewhere near your house, there's an empty lot. The kids like to go in and play, make dirt balls and so forth. So why would that piece of land get taken away? Let's move on to 4. Problem number 4, main idea. Main idea, we go back up to the topic sentence. It says flowers. And you see that we talk about one particular flower. It's the Rasphelia, and we're worried about the flower. Even though it's like a really wacky, weird flower, we're worried about its extinction. We come over here, we look at the answer choices, process of elimination, double pass system. A says flowers in Southeast Asia. That's true, but flowers is just a bunch of flowers. We're looking for one. So this answer choice is called a too broad answer choice. We're looking for an answer choice that says flower, Rasphelia. So this is going to be too broad. B says not all flowers. Once again, that's going to be too broad. We're looking for an answer choice that says a particular flower. C says some flowers. Flowers, again, is going to be too broad. And the better answer choice is going to be answer choice D. The Rafflesia flower is different. Too broad answer choice for A, B, and C. Let's go ahead and take a look at problem 5. Number 5, using the good stinky rule, find a couple words that have positive or negative tone on them. Let's do an overview of all of the words. You only need 2, but let's go ahead and go through this. It says flowers. I feel that that's positive right away. Sweet smelling, that is positive as well. The word perfume suggests positivity. We look over here, it says not so nice, negative. We look over here, first discovered. When you discover something, you're finding something that's positive. Strange flower, I feel like that's negative. Growing is positive. And stinky flower, that's negative. Regret having a nose, that's negative. Smelly is negative. Unusually large, that feels negative. And we come over here, botanist adventure, I go on an adventure, that's going to be positive. Natural environment, I feel like that's beautiful, that's going to be positive. Less visitors is going to be negative, something's going on here. When you're worried, that's negative. Danger of extinction is negative. The being cut down is negative. Alarming rate is negative. Deforestation is negative. And that is it. The good stinky rule. Many options for you here for the good stinky rule. Problem number 5. Let's move on. Let's take a look at 6. 6. From this paragraph, you can conclude that. Let's go ahead and do a quick review of this passage. We talked about in the paragraph topic sentence, flowers are sweet smelling. Then we move on and we talk about one flower. This is a weird flower that stinks and it's got large petals. But it's kind of cool because it's unusual. There's tons of scientists, many, going to look at it, but we're worried about extinction because of deforestation. That's the overview of the passage. See how quick I did that? We're going to try and conclude off of that. So let's go ahead and take a look at the answers. A, other plants in Southeast Asia may be in danger of going extinct. Well, if that one flower is in danger of going extinct because of deforestation, maybe there's other flowers right next to it that are in the same predicament. Let's put a dot by that. B, it says Rafflesia is an important ingredient in making car tires. This answer is called a distortion, kids. A distortion will take all of the words that we've seen in the paragraph and they'll twist them around. So we do say Rafflesia in the passage and we do say car tires, but they twist them around. They said in the passage the Rafflesia has blossoms as large as a car tire, but it never says it was an ingredient, so that's a distortion. Wrong. C, scientists and researchers alike, they like the smell of the Rafflesia because it's an interesting flower. They never said that they like the smell. In fact, they said that it's a stinky flower, so that is also a distortion. Answer choice D, the blossoms of the Rafflesia are very beautiful. They never said beautiful. That is off topic. They said that they were as big as a truck tire, so that's off topic. The best answer choice, it's a tricky one. It's A, because if the Rafflesia is in danger of going extinct because of deforestation, then maybe trees and everything around the Rafflesia are also in danger. 6 is going to be answer choice A. Let's go ahead and take a look at problem number 7. Problem number 7 is going to be a vocabulary word. Here we're looking for the word investigating in line number 8. What we're going to do is scroll back to the passage, read the surrounding area. We see that the word investigating is here, and we're going to read the surrounding area. So I want to see who the visitors are. Remember Scooby-Doo, and visitors are going to be scientists. What do scientists do? They study, they look at, they investigate. So think of the Scooby-Doo. There's 2 ways we could find that. You see that? Visitors and scientists. Let's look for an answer choice that talks about something a scientist would do. Come over here, take a look at the answers. Process of elimination double pass system. A says examining. I like it, put a dot by it. Surveying. Do scientists survey? No, I feel like land guys that make roads survey, or map surveyors. I don't feel like the studying flowers is surveying, so we can cross that one out. C says appraising. Appraising, I feel like that's somebody like seeing how much your house is worth. So that makes me feel like money. Not really what a scientist does. Cross that one out. Assessing. Assessing, when you have an assessment, that means they're going to tax you on something. That's off topic. A scientist is going to examine stuff. That's the better of the answer choices. A for 7. Remember, look at the surrounding area and think Scooby-Doo style. Let's take a look at 8. 8 is talking about the author's timeline. In this paragraph, do we see an author's timeline? Let's scroll on up, take a look at that passage. Author's timeline is like a continuum we talked about. It's a line, old school going to new school, going to future. Do we see that? Most flowers, in fact, blah, blah, blah. Then we talk about the Raphcelia. Here is the Raphcelia was first discovered 1921. That goes back up here in the beginning. We go over here, and then it says in 1965, we move to more present. Started here, more present. And then it says, who knows what the future will entail? Boom. Author's timeline. So when you're here, first discovered, you should be saying, okay, so they discovered it here. What's going on now? And then what's going to happen in the future? Author's timeline, kids, keeps you engaged. Are you on track with what the author is doing, or are you totally lost? When you are on track and you're able to predict, you feel like you're a smart junior genius because you understand what's going on. Let's take a look at number 9. It is a structural clues problem from this lesson. There's 4 structural clues hidden inside this passage. Let's go ahead and find them. We're going to try and identify where they are and what they do. When you come back up here, first things first, structural clue number 1 is going to be in fact. In fact is going to give you a fact about what they just said. However is a flip-flopper. That means what they're going to say here is going to be opposite. This is positive, so this is going to be negative over here. We come back over here. Let's look for some more structural clues. Because this is a reason. They say something and then here's the reason. We come over here. We see the word yet. Flag flip-flopper. It says natural environment. Less people. You see that. And there is another one down over here. Because if you saw that one, here's another reason of what's going on. Structural clues, kids. Identify them and use those as road signs to understand where you are in your passage. The whole concept here I'm trying to get at, kids, is this. Follow along and try and predict. Keep yourself engaged and interested. You're going to learn more and retain more information for the future. Also, relate what you know from the real world into the passage and from the passage into the real world so you can assimilate information that you're learning now with information that you already know. That's the whole concept of the genius. My mom told me as a kid, she said, little Tommy, you have a questioning and curious mind. Because what I would do is I would run around and I would take bits of information and kind of link them together. Lo and behold, that I learned later in life that that was a key component in the genius concept here. Linking ideas together, and that's what we're doing here. That's it for this lesson. We will see you in the next video. Bye for now, kids.